What's the motherfucking deal, Sauce Nation? I hope y'all are all doing fine and dandy this evening. Welcome to Sauce Sports. If you're not familiar with Sauce Sports is a Houston, Texas homer network. Means we're talking all sports, but only Houston. And if you're not familiar with that, then shame on you. I have a gentleman from the round table joining me this evening. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Might as well. It's your boy Hector Flores. Just another good day here in H-Town. A little confusing as far as whether the way we should rate this recent Texans win, but we'll get to that.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm trying to see something here. I wonder if it's looking like my voice is coming through on that. I want y'all to let me know if y'all can hear me still like this. Because if this is the case, then I'll just talk through this method as opposed to the other. So y'all let me know. But anyway, like I say, we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about some things. We're going to see we have joining us this evening. And we're going to get into it. So I see James Harden is a strange one. H-Train, what's the motherfucking deal? Jimmy T, your boy Low Stage. J-Pod, what's the motherfucking deal? Kenneth. Tightens up, always good to see you. And sound like okay, cool. Jack Sports, what's the motherfucking deal? Yeah, that's odd because I don't even have my mic thing on, so I guess it's the way I've been fucking with these. I've been changing the sounds and shit around, trying to get it to sound a certain way, and it's sounding crazy. So it is what it is. So here's the deal, man. We're gonna talk about some shit. We're gonna talk about what's been kind of happening around the city. What is this kind of going in now? I think I'm hearing myself awkwardly. But we're going to talk about kind of what's been going on around the city, man. We're going to talk about, sports in the town. We're going to talk about the Texans. We're going to talk about what's been going on with the Astros. We're going to talk about, Houston. They're taking on, well, it's all Houston. We're talking Rockets. They're taking on OKC this evening, which should be interesting because you have Carmelo returning to OKC, even though it was like a one-year deal. People really make a thing out of it. Like
the return.
Yeah, it's not that big. But, again, I do hope that he balls out just because of the shit people gave him for leaving. Like, if we just stayed, we could have had it. Not with fucking Russell Westbrook.
That's like how they overhyped the Cavs and Warriors game. I was like, without LeBron, it's just another game.
Exactly. Jay Dizzle, what's the motherfucking deal? So like I say, man, we gonna talk about a whole bunch of shit, and we gonna keep trucking. We're trying to get through to this weekend. Again, like I said, I planned on doing a Rockets pregame earlier, but I got back in late, and by the time that should have been going on, I wasn't available. So we'll talk some sauce tonight, and most likely we'll get into something tomorrow. We'll see what happens. It's just when the lack of news. I know it's primarily Texans, and I got to check the Rockets because I got to catch up on that. We'll see what's happening though. But I don't think they play for another couple of days after that. They got the Spurs after. I think that's Saturday. We'll see. So here's the deal. Let's start off with some Astros talk, and we'll get into some of the Texans stuff early because again, Hector is our resident Astros expert. I don't know shit about baseball. See, they didn't win this year, so now I can start claiming Astros fandom because I ain't want to jump on the World Series bandwagon train. So I was like, I'm going to wait until they don't win it, and then I'm going to jump on the wagon. So I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. I'm like, yeah, I've been fucking with the Astros since, 2018, man, and that's my team. So my deal is, we're going to – it's kind of some questions because I've been seeing a lot in the headlines and about a lot of coaches have been leaving from I don't want to say bench coaches. I'm not sure if it's hitting coach left too, but I'm hearing a lot of guys are leaving. How do you think that's going to impact this Astros team? In the long run, with bringing in new guys, will they be able to find talent that they could bring in for these positions? And I mean, just kind of give me a rundown of the positions that have left and what impact this is going to have on that Astros team.
Well, I mean, like last year, they were without Alex Cora. They also lost Alonzo Powell, who went to the San Francisco Giants because he was the assistant hitting coach here, and then he went to San Francisco. But for this year, obviously, another bench coach is up there for, I think it's the Texas Rangers manager position. So that's going to be somebody we'll probably see a lot more often than Alex Cora, though we will see Alex Cora at least twice next year. But as far as the other hitting coach, I think it's just next man up mentality. AJ Hinch is really good about building a good staff. I mean, that's the reason why a lot of these other ball clubs are coming to take our guys from here. So I mean, it's not really it's a tough loss because it's a guy that's worked with these guys from the Astros, but it's just next man up. Luckily, usually they bring up guys through up the farm system as well as managers. So we'll probably end up seeing some guys through from Round Rock or Corpus Christi being called up if they are deemed worthy to being brought up into the Astros organization. And if not, you'll probably see some other players come in. Maybe we might even see Carlos Beltran make an appearance as a hitting coach. So you never know what's going to happen with AJ Hinch.
Already. Shout out to Chandler. Chandler says shout out to Honcho and Hector. Man, I appreciate the love. Chandler always holding down the sauce line. Wise, what's the motherfucking deal? Borpus Bristy in the house, holding it down. But again, so looking at that situation now, a couple of guys. Well, actually, let's talk about the Lance McCullers situation briefly. And I think you were mentioning we were talking in the Soft Sports Skype chat, and you were saying that he's going to have Tommy John surgery. And so, like I said, I've heard of this surgery. I don't know exactly what it entails. So if you're familiar with that, you could explain that, and then just kind of what kind of position is that going to put this team in, because he's supposed to be out for the entire year. Is that true? Yeah,
he's going to be out for the whole 2019 season. It's a tough loss, but I mean it's something that needs to be done. I think first thing is just get him at 100%. He is part of kind of the future plans with the Astros, and you kind of saw some of the issues that he had because of that injury. I mean, when we saw him play against the Red Sox, there was a reason why his pitches were just not at that same level that he normally has. So I mean, and unfortunately, it's Lance McCullers yet again, who just seems to get hurt a lot every year. But I mean, once the goal is just to get him healthy. I don't know much about Tommy John to be honest. I know it's something with his shoulder, but it's a tough surgery to recover from. So the goal is to get healthy. I'm sure the Astros are already making plans as far as free agency. I know that they actually did not make a qualifying offer for Charlie Morton, and I think that's just mainly just to like structure a better deal that would benefit more the Astros and to keep Charlie Morton for a more long-term basis. I know they put in a qualifying offer for Dallas Keuchel. It's up to him whether or not he wants to accept that deal. But so as far as pitching, I think we'll be fine. And then as well, you do have Valdez and Josh James, and as well Forrest Whitley that could be possible options to be part of the Astros pitching rotation.
Okay. And a qualifying offer, how does that whole situation kind of work?
It's just like kind of an initial deal. I think the deal is like worth at roughly around $17 million. So it's just an initial offer to give to the players, and they have the option to either accept it or test the market. Honestly, I'm kind of done with the Dallas Keuchel era with the Astros, but the guy just seems to have an on and off year. So maybe he definitely did not have a good year this past season. So maybe if he comes again next year, maybe he goes back to the Dallas Keuchel that everybody hopes he is.
Okay. And first, James Harden, I did say your name. You was over there too busy spamming a bunch of shenaniganery and shit, and that's why you ain't hear it. So quit crying. Yeah, this is another name I heard you mention, or I believe, it was you or Brandon mentioned. Says Beast Mona Gay says, I hear the Stros may try to make a move for Madison Bumgarner. What kind of situation would that put the Astros in?
Obviously Bumgarner's a very seasoned pitcher. He's definitely a very he's a great pitcher. That would just add more fuel to what this Astros pitching staff is, and I think from what we know, last year was one of the best pitching staff in look, they were first in a lot of categories, so they were the number one pitching team in the league. And I mean, it just make him a little bit stronger. Yes, he does come off of an injury, but I mean, it's Madison Bumgarner. He's a great pitcher. I wouldn't be against it bringing him, but it will mean that we would have to give up prospects because knowing San Francisco, they're going into rebuild mode, And obviously, when you talk about the Astros, we do have a lot of prospects that could be, what a lot of teams are going to be trying to pursue. But the big issue is that the Astros will not give up Forrest Whitley or Kyle Tucker easily. Like, just even if it's for Madison Bumgarner, So those are the two ones that probably the Astros will not be willing to put up. But I mean, besides the other prospects, they're all up for grabs.
Okay. Damon Knight, what's the deal? Now, there was something you said, and it slipped my mind. I should have said the question first before I fucking said the what's up now. I lost my train of thought on that one. God damn it. Well, that is what it is. But like I say, let's jump over to the basketball front for a second. Even I know that you're not a Rockets fan, but you have your reasons, you have your ties, so we'll talk about it a little bit. And here's my thing. Recently, and we haven't talked about this on the sauce, Jeff Bislick, or however you say his name, we just call him Jeff B.
The defensive coach?
Yes, the defensive coach has returned. Man, how big of an impact do you think that is for this Rockets team? Because they've been looking really lackluster on defense this season. And what do you think brought him back? They said it was some family issues. I heard it was, a variety of things. And I'm wondering if it was Fertitta's pockets saying, hey, you need to get back and get this thing on track. Man, what do you think it was that it was that brought Jeff back?
Probably just because like whatever he had going on with his family was taken care of and handled. So obviously you always got to put family first. So yeah. I'm sure now he's in a comfortable situation where he can come in, and it's obviously a great thing because the Rockets have been struggling defensively. They've looked better in recent games. I think they've gotten they've gotten better and better as they're kind of getting back into that, being back in 500, which I wasn't really that quick to jump in the gun with the Rockets. I just knew it was going to take a while before they start going into what we all kind of expected them to be playing. But definitely adding him back is definitely going to help out. This team has been struggling defensively. So, I mean, to bring in people, especially from that staff from last year, it is definitely going to benefit the Rockets for at least for the long haul.
Okay, I agree. And man, I gotta agree with you on that jumping the gun. A lot of people were just maybe instantly expecting the Rockets to do exactly what they did last year, and I think that's a little bit irrational because you got to look at how much turnover they had. Not just talking about Trevor Ariza and Luke. You got to look at all the names they brought in. There's a lot of different guys here, from Chris to Knight. I know Knight's still injured, and you got to think about Ennis. Ennis was out for a while. He's a guy that they brought in to help bolster some of that defense. He was unavailable for a while. Harden was out a couple of games. Chris Paul being out a few games, and you got to have time to let that chemistry come together. And again, like I said, it's a lot of different guys. I've been liking the fact that my sleeper pick, I think a lot of people starting to fuck with it now, but Isaiah Hartenstein, he's been getting some decent little time. He's been playing all right.
Oh, he's been fun to watch, man. He's been fun, man. Like I don't think he's like does anything like truly special, but he just seems well rounded.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people don't notice in players now these days. And I mean, I feel like he's definitely someone that you feel comfortable that he can go out there and at least do his job.
Yeah.
And I think that's definitely what I appreciate in Hartenstein.
Yeah, and that's what I say. You need that because you have guys who may excel in one area. You have maybe offensive-minded guys that don't play defense. Or you have guys who have certain skill sets but are lacking in other areas. He's definitely an all-around quality guy. And I see you talking about Gary Clark. Gary Clark was a solid pickup too. He's been getting some decent playing time. It's been very interesting to see what he's been able to do. And like I say, I think that the Rockets are good at finding those pieces. And so, like I say, these are a lot of names that we weren't saying last year. And so that's what people have to take into account. It's a lot of chemistry it has to build. It's a lot of things going on. A lot of star players were missing for a while and have returned. So, I mean, you just got to give it time to all kind of mesh, all of it to come together. And I think eventually we'll be all right. We'll be fine. So,
yeah, I definitely have to eat my words on Michael Carter-Williams because he has not been panning out like I thought he was.
Yeah, well, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt earlier, and I was hoping. I know he had a solid little game or two early. I think when it was early. I can't remember when CP3 was out or it was one of Harden hurt games. But then he's not. You can't trust them light-skinned guys. It just is what it is. You put your faith on a light-skinned dude, you're gonna be upset every time. I'm just talking shit, but Again though, with the Rockets though, in the situation. Now, I know you're a a Lakers guy. What is the situation going on with the Lakers? What is the situation with Luke Walton? What's happening on that side of the country?
Well, we all know when James Harden says the phrase, I like that guy. It's usually his own way of like the kiss of death. We've seen it time and time again from James Harden when he says something like that. When he says something really nice about a certain coach, that's like just a little. It's like the Godfather. You just know it's gonna happen. I mean, they're doing all the things that they can to like let people know, no, we're not firing anybody, but it would not shock me if Luke Walton was to get fired. And I'm pretty sure that will be the greatest day ever for LeVar Ball. But but yeah, I mean, it's official. I mean, that's the kiss of death. When James Harden says something like that. I mean, not James Harden. LeBron James says something like that.
Yeah, you already know LeBron's like the most passive aggressive guy you ever seen in sports. You don't ever get outraged too much, and you might see him angry on the court a little bit.
Did you hear about that the thing that happened on Instagram?
Mm-mm.
So I guess he got he was drinking wine or something. I don't know what the complete the full story, but apparently they caught him liking some Instagram account called like Tits for Nips or some shit like that. And obviously quickly unliked it, but it's out there, everybody saw it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, man, that's a random. I got the story from Barstool, but they were saying that it was Tits for Nips or something along those lines for the title of the page, and I just thought it was the random. I was like, man, LeBron James is just like any other guy,
Exactly.
you get tipsy, you start going through Instagram, you're gonna find some shit on Instagram, man.
And then you start flying out Instagram hoes. God damn it. That's how you get in trouble. That's what I'm telling you, young gentlemen. If you ever do well, if you probably can afford an Instagram model as long as you make more than minimum wage. These motherfuckers be doing it for anything. But don't fall for the Instagram snap trap. Just like the picture and move on. Stay out the DMs. You will regret it. They screenshotting everything and all that other good shit. So don't get caught up.
Actually, don't even like the pictures, man. Just don't like it because the thing is now everybody can see who likes what now. Yeah. Especially they have a little circle now and it shows the profile pictures. And so I'm like, man, you gotta be careful now, man. Next thing you know, it could be the wrong person sees that you're liking. A picture of Kim Kardashian, and next thing you know, you're just like, well, shit.
Yeah. Man, I'd be like, fuck what they think. I like the shit. I'd be like, but I don't think I fuck with the gram too tough like that to do. But even some shit, yeah, that motherfucker got a big ass, I'm gonna like it. If it's some nice ass titties, I'm gonna like it. Fuck y'all. I'm a man that's got the damn, what the fuck I'm gonna do? Yeah, look, some of y'all liking some of that weird shit. I'd be talking about y'all motherfuckers out there still talking about Kay Adams is thick, so there's a whole other conversation. I'm just fucking with you, Baylor.
God dang, Baylor, man.
But the thing with Ariza might. I'm glad they brought that up because the situation with the Suns, and this is something they said even prior to the season that there's a possibility that Ariza could get bought out and end up back with the Rockets, even if he does play out the one season, because the Suns aren't going to do anything. There's no expectations for the Suns whatsoever. So, there's that. But let's kind of venture forward. Is there any Dynamo news that we should be speaking
on? Their president Chris Kennedy was actually stepped down because he's now going to be overseeing the Houston's World Cup bid. So they're kind of working on trying to make a presentation to be one of the host cities for the 2026 World Cup. So he actually stepped down. And so now they brought in a new guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but the president in soccer, the president is kind of more of what a general manager is when it comes to football and any other sport in the U.S. The president is more of that guy, the one that goes out and seeks players. I mean, they do have a general manager in Matt Jordan, but and I feel like that's what he does, honestly. So I would have thought it would have just made sense to just promote him to president, but they got a new club president now. So right now the expectations is him to bring in some players, not only some good players that will work for the system that Wilmer Cabrera is doing, but as well as honestly with the fact that they're struggling in ticket sales and season ticket holders are actually declining into updating for next year. You definitely want to start bringing in at least some name catching players to bring in here, because I mean when you have teams like DC United having guys like Wayne Rooney, and then LA always just seeming to have like a big name player in their team, you're kind of slacking. So you kind of want to at least bring somebody in to just bring seats in. So that'll be the big thing for this new president, to work with Wilmer Cabrera and even work with Jordan to find a way to, because now you have 3 tournaments to focus on next season, which is obviously the MLS, and then you have the U.S. Open Cup, which you're going to be trying to retain your title in a sense, and then you have the CONCACAF Champions League. So you're definitely going to have to find a way to bring more players in, especially for depth reasons, and then as well trying to keep Albert Feliz from El Kyoto and Mauro Manotas, because there's teams that want them, and obviously these guys, it's not like their final destination is to be playing in the MLS for the rest of their life. So every kid growing up, especially if you played soccer, the dream is to go play in Europe. So I mean, one of those European teams comes in and offers a substantial deal, that I mean, the Dynamo can't say no, because who says no to a good amount of money? And then I mean, these guys are not going to say no to these European offers, especially with as young as these guys are, because Mauro Manotas and Albert Feliz are still under 25, and they still have some things to work on, but obviously going and competing at that high level, that'll just make them the stars that a lot of people in their countries believe that these guys could be.
Okay. Dave was saying John Walker. John Walker's supposed to be the name of the guy you're saying they brought in, Dave? I'm not sure.
I mean, it's just that the guy is boring. Yeah. Like
the name is boring.
When they interviewed him, like he was just really boring. So I didn't really think about. Like I was like, man, like I personally I wasn't sold on him. Like I'm kind of where I was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna say Jordan is the answer, but I mean, there was no point in having a general manager to begin with, because that's, like I said, that's what the president is in soccer. So you might as well just give the guy the actual title. But I mean, hopefully John Walker can maybe a different insight, and I think maybe that'll work out.
Okay. Now a couple of questions before we get to talking some Texans talk here. And I didn't think about that. Man, what are your thoughts? That's what the question I had before I forgot. What are your thoughts on the Jimmy Butler situation? Is Minnesota still asking too much? Do you think that there will be a Jimmy Butler trade going down? And if so, do you think it will be with the Rockets? Or do you think the Rockets are about to say, fuck Minnesota and start maybe eyeing some other assets that they could obtain? How do you feel about that whole situation playing out?
I mean, with the way Minnesota's looking, there's going to be a point where, you might as well get rid of the guy. Because, I mean, Minnesota just does not look like that team that they were initially. I mean, it's still, the season has just barely started, so it's not like you can just predict where they're going to end up. But I think definitely near the trade deadline, you'll probably have a better idea of how your season's going to go. But, the worse your season gets, I mean, you're giving more power to the other team. So, I mean, yeah, the Rockets offered four first rounders. I mean, that could easily go down to 2, Mm-hmm. So, I mean, right now, like, the ball is on their court, but, I mean, they need to hope that they can continue, or at least go back to their winning ways, or else, they're just going to be a team that's just going to have to give up a good player because he wants to go to a contender.
Okay. Do you see Gordon falling into the mix with that trade? Do you see the Rockets coming off Eric Gordon, or do you think they're going to stay steadfast in trying to keep him?
I think for right now you want to try to keep him, even though, yes, he is on the last year of his deal, and I think honestly that's probably the best way to go with it. But I don't see anybody as far as in his position that you would feel comfortable, with him after he leaves. So I would definitely try to keep Eric Gordon, keep using the picks as an option to be using the trade.
Okay. It's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out because I would definitely be a fan of having Jimmy Butler on this team. And with Gordon having that injury, hopefully it's not a long-term situation if he is going to remain on the team. Because I know he's been, and that's another piece. Like I say, just talking about all the injuries, all the ins and outs. Gordon's been out for a significant amount of time, so that's why people just got to stop looking at the score. You got to stop looking at, believing the bullshit from the national media because they don't watch the fucking games. They don't give a fuck about the Rockets. And just pay attention to what's really going on because there's a lot of turnover right now. There's just been a lot of people in and out of the lineup, guys that you normally depend on or that were healthy, for a significant portion of last year, just not available right now. So again, there you just got to.
I mean, plus who would have thought at the beginning of the season there was going to be a fight already?
Oh man, that's the crazy shit. I'm still sticking with Chris Paul. I don't care what nobody say. CP3 piece. So here's the deal, man. Let's talk a little. I'm sorry. Actually, there's one. They had a text on the sauce line. There was a question for you. And that question was, as soon as I bring that back up, from Chandler. Chandler was saying, got a question for Hector. Do you see us getting Nelson Cruz or Bryce Harper?
Bryce Harper, no, because the Astros don't necessarily have that money to be. Because I mean, the guy just said no to a 10-year, $300 million deal to stay with the Nationals. So I mean, that guy's going for the big money. I mean, he wants to be the highest paid player in baseball, and honestly, he deserves it. Yeah. I mean, I can't deny it. I mean, the guy's great, but I mean, Bryce Harper. Obviously, every team's going to be trying to make a deal for him, but I don't necessarily see us being in top contention unless he's willing to take a pay cut. But obviously, he made his choice is clear that he's chasing a check. But Nelson Cruz is a very realistic choice. I don't know if we will be retaining Evan Gattis. I don't think we are retaining Evan Gattis, to be frank. And so Nelson Cruz, even at his age, can still hit it. So it would make sense to go for him at DH. And it's kind of like a similar thing to what happened with Carlos Beltran. You brought him in. You have that very well veteran experience to come in. Because, I mean, the Astros still have a very young team. So you definitely want someone with a lot of experience, especially like Nelson Cruz. But, other things as well the Astros need to get is a catcher and probably some more pitchers. And also a guy that will be, to replace when, Marvin Gonzalez leaves. Though they have said that Yuli will be looked at as that utility player to replace Marwin. Though I will say I would prefer him staying at first just because with his age he's not exactly as quick as Marwin is, but I could definitely see for him as a versatility player as well. But I would definitely like to bring in some extra key pieces. You're going to see guys from the farm system be called up, but you like I said, you just want to bring in. To me, ideally, the main things are catcher, a designated hitter, and probably some more outfield depth.
Okay. And it is crazy. Imagine declining $300 million. It's $300 million. I spit at you. It's still what kind of motherfucker? I wish the motherfucker would. Motherfucker's going crazy to have a chance to play the fucking lotto for a couple of $100 million. This motherfucker like, shit. You offend me with that offer. Get the fuck out of my face. That's crazy shit. So here's the deal. Let's see. Now let's talk some Texans. Let's get into it. I know everybody wants to talk about it. I know everybody wants to talk about the Irvin trade. I know that that's on a lot of people's minds. A lot of people want to discuss the new guy. What is it? Deon something Carter. Yeah. So it's D something. I know we got a bunch of D somethings all over the place. And I've seen a little bit of him. I haven't, like I say, just deep dove into what he brings to the table. Shout out to Phoenix. Phoenix had some good insights on him earlier while he was eating Zaxby's and rubbing on BBWs and things, like he likes to do. But shout out to Phoenix. And he was just kind of saying that he saw some quickness in him and that he would be a dirty work guy that could do some things. But now I did see a couple of his highlights, and he does seem, and this is because ever since Irvin got hurt a couple of seasons in a row, and I think that ended up kind of hindering what he was able to do. That he seemed to maybe lose a little bit of quickness. I don't know what it was. I don't know exactly. My thing with Irvin was that he was consistent. It wasn't anything great. He wasn't doing anything exceptional, but it was consistent for the most part. Now it was only a couple of plays, but if this Carter kid can get that great field position, because here's the deal: it's like our special teams blocks pretty well. Our special teams is solid, and again, it was just a lot of Irvin not just being able to gain some extra yards. Again, I mean, he was just kind of playing it safe. It felt like, in my opinion, he wasn't really trying to do anything too much, and I was okay with that. But this kid here looks like he's trying to hit a home run in a couple of highlights that I saw. And again, I think people need to take into account how important special teams is, just as crucial as our punt team is with Daniels, and he's constantly pinning guys deep. When you can put your offense in great field position, giving them a short field to work with, that's when you're doing something special, especially with this defense starting to get turnovers. Finally got us in the positive on that. It's a very important factor to account for, because ultimately if your defense can get turnovers and your special teams can put you in good field position, you're going to score more points. That's another element of this that we haven't really been looking at, but I mean that's also an essential part of playing football, is getting that good field position. So the Carter kid, have you had a chance to take a look at him, and what are your thoughts on them cutting Tyler Irvin and then acquiring this guy?
I just think that just because Irvin hasn't really had much of a wow factor since, in my opinion, week one, and because that's when we were like, we were kind of taking back what we said about Irvin, of how he made the team, and for a while, I think he did enough to at least try to keep his job, but you just knew that, especially even though the kicking side of the special teams is, kicking and punting at least is looking decent, but the return side is still kind of having its issues, not being able to put us in better field position. So I think that was just honestly the big reason why bringing in Carter. I haven't gotten much to actually look at this kid, but I mean, if it just adds something else to this team and adds speed to it, I mean, I'm all about it.
Okay. I think another interesting thing to account for too is, I think in a little bit of a way, you can kind of blame Kiki for Irvin getting the axe. I think it's a situation. I think there's a couple of other factors that you have to look at and wonder about, because the DeAndre Carter kid is a wide receiver. Also, I believe plays slot. And the way QT has just been looking off and on this season, not in the fact of his gameplay, when he's on the field, it's been quality, but he has to get on the field, and he's been injured for a significant part of the season. I want to say over half the season he's been injured. I think he's played 4 games, and that's problematic, because a guy like that, Demarius is who he's going to be, and that was a great pickup. DeAndre Hopkins is the GOAT, and he's going to make plays in a variety of ways. But ultimately, Kiki was brought in to be that speed factor, and the ultimate plan was to have Kiki and Will, again having that type of deadly speed on the field that could bust it open in time, and then allowing DeAndre to do what he does. Right now, it's just DeAndre and Demarius, which is a completely different look, and that's why I tell a lot of people not to get they were overly upset about that loss. You got to understand, like, Demarius doesn't know the playbook. We're down 2 receivers who should be starting, and then you got a bunch of no names, and you can't expect too much. And then we start relying on tight ends, which is something we haven't done yet. It's something we should be doing, but we've been working on things that we haven't really been doing in the past. And so I mean, it's one game, but again, like I say, it's going to be interesting. I think the fact that he's a receiver, so if Kuti is hurt, then, you can also have a little bit of depth at that position. And it makes me wonder what's the deal with Coates and the Vincent Smith kid, because Smith was supposed to be a speedster guy. And, we saw him get a little bit of action in a game, I think, when Watson went deep to him, but he was double covered. So I'm not even mad at him for that. But it was definitely a negative and not a positive on his name. And then I think also with Irvin, you have a situation with Deontay Foreman possibly coming back pretty soon. And if that is the case, then, you're going to need to clear some room in the running backs. And, of course, he's going to get the green light over Irvin any day. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. that whole situation. So, but again, Demaryius, like I said, we hadn't had a chance to chop it up on some things. And so I want to know your thoughts, man, about Demaryius, his addition. How do you feel about, how he played, and just, overall, how are you feeling about that pickup?
Well, I mean, in his first game, his first quarter, he set a Texans record. That was actually the best first quarter performance by any Texan. Yeah. So I mean, he looked good. I mean, yeah, there was some issues where he just didn't know the playbook. He went out of his way and called the timeout. So yeah. Just because he didn't know where he was supposed to be, and I mean, that's just, and you got to give credit for him to be able to be here. I think I don't know how many days he was actually here. Maybe like what, three days of practice, and
yeah, so because he got traded on a Tuesday, I believe. So what you got, like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday's probably a walkthrough. If so. So
not even 3 days, but to do all that and still go out there and play a game. I mean, 3 receptions. I think it was like 61 yards.
Yeah.
It's good, but I mean, gotta give him credit. He didn't have much time with this offense, and for him to at least get 3 receptions. Unfortunately, we just weren't able to implement him a little bit more in the offense, and I think at that point you just started running the ball a little bit more, and obviously everyone got frustrated with the whole back-to-back first down plays being running it down the middle, which I can understand what was going on because of the fact that you're trying to get the running game going, trying to kill the clock and everything like that. But I mean, when you're getting stuffed repetitively, I mean, at some point you gotta switch it to a play action at least, or go on the outside, just something different.
Yeah. And like I say, I think there's a number of factors that played into that. And like you were saying, that you got to try to get the run game going, because that's what you want. You want to be able to control that clock when you can. But at the same time, I think that the limited use of passing plays, I think, like I say, Demaryius only knew so much. They kind of had a little concentrated section of the playbook for him. And then outside of that, you're not confident in too many of your other receivers. Again, we saw Jordan Thomas, and, they're starting to build that chemistry. But I don't think there's a lot of confidence in those other guys that the Texans have. And you can't blame them for that, because we as fans don't have confidence in any of those other guys. So why would you expect the Texans to do it? I mean, DeAndre can do everything, but he can only do so much at the same time. If you're passing it too much, I mean, they're going to realize, okay, it's either going to DeAndre or Demaryius for the most part. And Demaryius doesn't know too many plays. He has to ask almost, after they kind of got out of his little part of the playbook. DeAndre was helping him out. Watson was helping him out, in the middle of the game. And I think it gets to a point where you start noticing little things. You start noticing little tales. Well, okay, well, they're talking to Demaryius, so they might be passing the ball, or they may be doing this and doing that. So I think that I'm not complaining about it. It is what it is. Again, you come out with the win, fuck all the other stuff. We talk about the field goal.
Man, you got to be careful with that, Honcho, man. You're going to start triggering people again.
My thing is this, man. I look at it like this. Fuck all the bullshit, because we wouldn't be talking about that field goal kick and possibly, losing if Bernard McKinney makes that tackle. We wouldn't be talking about that if who is that Sanders caught it on? It was Kareem and somebody else, and one of those guys makes a play. And I'm not talking shit about Kareem, because Kareem has been playing exceptional all year. Every now and then you're gonna give one up, but I mean, and then you got to look at who we had on the field on that defense, man. You're talking about the Jamerson kid. You're talking about Mike Tyson. You're talking about Sharice Wright, who played a solid game. Who was solid. He prevented a touchdown. He did some other things. But again, these are guys that we have not been confident, haven't even been talking about all year. And you got to take what you can get. The Texans played about as decent of a game. I'm not gonna say good, as decent of a game as you could expect, and still get the win. So my thing, what's the motherfucking deal, Kevin and Billy and Vincent? What's the motherfucking deal? But my thing is, yeah, exactly. Now, to me, it's like, this is how I was looking at it. Like, fuck it. We got past that bullshit, because that's an anomaly. We were just talking about how, okay, Jacksonville, we look good. Why is that? We had Will. We had players. Miami, we look good. Will was there for a significant part of it. Then he got hurt. You were able to do some things early on. Then you come into a week where you're missing a chunk of motherfuckers. You lost J. Joe. You ain't got a bunch of people. And we're expecting to replicate the same performance when we've lost a lot of significant players. a lot of key pieces are not available, you know, I just can't get into that one. That's why I say, I mean, you got to look a little bit deeper into it. It's not just when you don't have the players to execute. And again, you got to play a bunch of guys that are off the street. I mean, you can't have the same expectations. There's a reason these guys were on the street, or these guys haven't been highly coveted. You know, they're learning and developing in the system. But then to get upset about it and say, "Oh, this is what's going to happen for the rest of the year," I think it's kind of lazy, because you got a bye week. And you got a shit ton of people coming back after the bye week. You got Joseph coming back. You got Colvin coming back, who's been absent for, 5 or 6 weeks. You got the possibility of Deontay Foreman returning, or at least he's going to get back in the fold. They've been saying that he's been kind of practicing off to the sides a little bit, but he just hasn't been cleared to go, as in practice. So they'll have that little 21-day window. You'll have Demaryius Thomas having a chance, and I'm sure that he's deep diving into the playbook. He's going to have a chance to actually learn the playbook and pick it up. And again, you're not just going to pick it up. I mean, there's nuances to these things, but he's going to have a deeper understanding, so that he's going to provide more usage of his ability, because he's going to have a better understanding of what's going on. And so I think that to just believe, just because that one game in Denver where the air is thin, where it's extremely hard for any team to play, because we could talk about that 2011 Steelers.
And I mean,
team.
you also got to mention, like, the defense was out there at least majority of the game. I felt like the defense was out there a lot, just because a lot of the 3 and outs from that second half with the offense. But you got to give credit to that defense. I mean, to be as exhausted as they were. And I mean, it's another game where we're looking at this defense and they're just beat. I mean, you see JJ. I mean, granted, it's also in Denver and you can see JJ Watt just breathing like there was no tomorrow for him. They were exhausted, and I mean, and then you see Case Keenum, just dinking and dunking at the end, and that's really what the majority of their yards came from, because they didn't have an answer to that tight end. I'm not going to try to say his name, because that name just sounds downright impossible to pronounce. Mind you, I can actually pronounce African names, and I can't pronounce that dude's name. So I'm like, that just shows how much I'm struggling with that dude's name.
Yeah.
I think I spent at least a good 2 minutes trying to say that dude's name on my video, the last video I made about the Broncos game, and I'm like, man, that name is just hard to pronounce. Yeah. Man, like, I had no problem pronouncing Ngakoue, and I'm like, God dang, I'm struggling with this dude. But that dude had a good game, and it was just because the defense was tired, and at that point all you saw. So, like, the stats were good for him, but at the same time, it was just because, he was just open in those little short yard passes, but it led to big plays just because, like I said, the defense was just beat.
Yeah. And I agree. Dave was saying that the defense did great, contained Lindsay until about the third quarter, but they were guys, and that's what I'm saying. You got to understand, the guys on the other side of the field are acclimated to this weather, so they'll be able to sustain longer than the guys on our side of the ball, and so that's what you have to realize. I just got a funny text. I apologize about that. But that you got to realize that there's a lot of small factors, and especially dealing with Denver, there's factors at play that do not take place in any other facility in the NFL and any other place in the NFL. So, I mean, you take that, you deal with it, and then you move on. You're happy that you come away with a victory in Denver. Because, again, you look at that Broncos versus Steelers team in 2011. I always talk about that, when Clark couldn't play because of the weather, because he had the sickle cell blood trait. Not that he had sickle cell, but it affects your oxygen level because the way it makes your blood. And you saw how that impacted the Steelers that game. Going up and playing in Denver is not an easy task. Again, Steelers was a better team. They were a better team, and then fucking everybody gives Tim Tebow credit for something that he didn't do. But Demaryius Thomas took over that game, because I'm going to say he had about fucking 200 and some change, if not at least 185. I want to say he had 200 and some change, though, because he was all over the place. He had a bunch of big catches that game. But
and that just kind of goes back to the fact that, like, that point, Pittsburgh was just gassed. I mean,
exactly. And if people don't take that into account when you play in Bronco, I mean, everybody will tell you that's the hardest place to play because of the altitude. It's not, you got fans and they're loud. You got that everywhere. But then when the actual atmosphere is different. When the oxygen is thin, it's different, and you're getting gassed and you're getting tired. It's going to definitely impact you. And I think that a lot of people just discredit that, like, oh, it's just talk. No, it takes like 2+ weeks to acclimate to that fucking weather, to like as a person living there. So you only having 48 hours or so to adjust. I mean, it's going to affect you. It's going to happen. Those high altitude masks ain't going to train you for it, because it's a different situation, and there's no preparing for it. There's no adapting to it. You have to deal with it. So I think that when any team can come away with a win in Denver, you have to give them credit for just for fighting through whatever they had to fight through, plus as on the field, and then the air and everything else in there. Now I know a lot of people are like, well, still it happened, or it got to the point where old buddy had to make a field goal, and it was what it was. And that's fine if you still want to look at that as what it is. But we talk about Bill O'Brien, and we talk about how much we hate him. Hey, we could have Vance Joseph, because he made a few key mistakes that game. Going for the 62-yarder was extremely unwise, in my opinion. I think there was a couple other things that we could point to and just we could see. But did you see the comments are apparently that he was saying
they call him a dumb fuck or something like that?
Yeah, how do you feel about that? How does that change your thoughts on Bill O'Brien, or how you feel about Bill O'Brien? Does it make you judge him in any particular way? How do you feel about that?
You said what we all were thinking. I mean, come on, like you weren't sitting there like, God, that was stupid.
Yeah.
McManus has a hell of a leg, but I don't think 62 yards is realistic for that guy. That's like, there's only one kicker in this league that I would feel 100% confident with a 62-yard field goal, and that's Justin Tucker. So I'm like, I think it's called Justin Tucker, but yeah. So there's not many guys that can do that. And 46 yards. That was more of a realistic approach, but it's still it's a missable kick, and I honestly gotta say, man, I'm surprised that I actually thought Bill O'Brien was gonna ice him, and instead of icing him, he just called a timeout.
Yeah.
And I honestly would say I got mad at that moment, because I was like, you should have iced him. But you know what? He didn't need to ice him, because the dude missed regardless, and it wasn't like, oh, it's so close. No, he was off.
He shaked that bitch. My thing is, I think Bill O'Brien did the right thing, because if you see in that timeout, old buddy runs to the sideline to try to get another quick practice kick in. And I think that's what fucked him up, because then, instead of just standing there, kind of getting ready to get your mind right, you're rushing to the sideline, using that extra little leg juice you got to try to hurry up and get a kick in, and then you're trying to run back out there and simulate something that's kind of, it's completely different. And I think that's actually what
but you can just see McManus, there was no confidence in him. I just you just looked out there and he's just like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
he just didn't look confident. And I feel like at that moment we were like, I think this game could actually be ours. You got to give credit to the Texans defense to at least hold them off to be in that spot of the field. 46-yard field goal. Like I said, it's not easy. Obviously, most kickers are comfortable if they're in that 30-yard range. Not kicking it 40+ yards, because that's still a hard location to be kicking it.
I agree. And you gotta still look at it, because shit, we missed a fucking extra point. So that's the whole reason we were in that whole situation. And a fucking extra point has nothing to do with coaching, has nothing to do with anything. That's the most routine play, I would think, in football, or at least for a specialist.
Well, since they moved it to the 20-yard line for extra points, it's been you've seen a lot of kickers miss that kick now.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot easier when it was just there. I think they put it at the 3-yard line or something like that. I forgot where they actually put it, but obviously it's closer to the goal line. Mm-hmm. So obviously it was just kick it up there and that's it. But now you have them a little bit backed up. But you've seen a lot of kickers miss extra points. Even Dan Bailey, who used to be considered Mr. Automatic, is now missing extra points now. So it just can happen. It happens to every kicker. So.
And I see somebody asking if the Steelers need to lose for us to get what is the Steelers record?
I think they're 5-2-1.
5-2-1. Yeah, that's what I thought. So, I guess technically with a tie is over a loss. So, Yeah, fuck them. They need to lose.
I think they got to worry about the division. I don't know where Cincinnati is right now, but is it? Are they now first in the North, or is it still Cincinnati?
I have to see what they got, because I have the
Because I was about to say, I mean, the tie helps them, but it also hurts them.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, yeah, it's one less loss they have to, that they have over other teams, but then it's like one less win that other teams have over them.
Yeah, so the Steelers are technically the number one in the division because of the tie. Otherwise, if they'd have lost that, they've been tied with the Bengals. So the Bengals are 5-3, and then the Steelers are 5-2-1. And so
okay, so they have right now the benefit of having the tie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now they're blowing the heck out of the Panthers. It's like the first quarter, and they're up 21-7.
No, that's craziness. Yeah, so again, we will see what happens with that. It'll be very, very interesting. But they beat the Bengals 1-1 versus the Ravens. So I mean, yeah, you have to worry about it. They have a couple other facts that they'll have to figure out. I'll be honest, I did not, because I told you I was running late, so I did not get the sauce line adequately prepared or anything. So if y'all have some couple of texts or anything y'all want to text in, we'll take a couple of texts, but then we will probably wrap it up after that. Make sure you guys slide by StaySaucy.com. Get some fresh sauce merch. Got some things coming. Got some new looks coming. Just y'all stay tuned. Definitely check that out. And make sure you follow Sauce Sports on Instagram and Twitter. So here is the dilly dally. Let me drop that number on there for y'all, so y'all can text in. We'll take some texts if y'all got a couple of texts. Well, I guess I gotta get rid of this part, so that way y'all can see it. We'll take a couple of texts. You guys have some things you guys want to drop on the sauce line. We'll definitely read that and see what you got going, and then we're gonna get ready to wrap it up here shortly, because I got a couple other things I got to take care of. I'm gonna be honest, man. It's probably because of this damn. I still haven't acclimated to the fucking daylight saving time. That's probably what it is. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, like I'm just wondering why I've been off all fucking week. Just throw it off, and then fucking up late, like during the day, get all tired, and then still need some fucking.
Daylight saving just sucks, man. Like it's only great when you get like an extra hour of sleep.
Yeah.
But when you have to push time forward, it just sucks, because like originally you were planning on getting 8 hours, and next thing you know you're only getting 7 hours of sleep. So like, I mean, I'm just saying normally I get like maybe 5 to 4 hours of sleep normally. So I mean, I was just using that just to give like the proper numbers you're supposed to get of sleep.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it just sucks. And what's funny is because I lived in Arizona for a while, and I found out that they don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't do the daylight saving thing. They just keep the time the way it is. And honestly, I'm like, maybe they got the right thing going.
Yeah, that sounds legit. Because I'm gonna be honest, like daylight savings or whatever, it's cool for that one day that you get that 1 hour, but then after that, everything's all fucked up. The fucking, it's like dark. It's 5 o'clock and shit. It's fucking dark as shit. And then
yeah, because that's what really sucked. Because I remember being a kid, and you go out to the park and play with your friends, basketball, football, or soccer, or something like that. And obviously the rule is once the street lights go on, it's time to go home. Especially in the neighborhoods that I lived in. But like, and so you're just kind of like, you just get out of school, you go out to the park for a bit, and next thing you know, it's already nighttime, and it sucks because when you were a kid, you wanted to be out of the house.
And so I see somebody saying, do you think they will keep DT next year with a $14 million? That's a very interesting one. I looked at that when they first acquired him, and I don't know, bro. I mean, it's 1 year. Depends on how he contributes this year. And again, people are talking about, he's lost a step. He ain't got it no more. He ain't got it. Well, apparently he showed out a little bit against the team, and that's not knowing too much of the playbook. I don't think that DT necessarily lost a step. I just think that he's been playing with a bunch of, he was going through the DeAndre Hopkins situation where you're playing with a bunch of trash quarterbacks who cannot capitalize on your talents. I mean, you're talking about a guy who came in the league running like a 4.3. So even if he did lose a step, he's significantly faster than most of the motherfuckers out there, And so my thing is,
it's crazy how one player can just change the whole dynamic. I mean, granted, Peyton Manning, that was like his final year was probably like the worst year I've ever seen Peyton Manning play. But like they won a Super Bowl. I mean, I guess you can give Osweiler the credit because I mean he did get him to the playoffs. But I mean, after that they just never been the same.
Yeah, and I mean you're talking about Simeon, Lynch, Osweiler. Case, and I like Case.
You got Chad Kelly breaking into breaking into people's homes.
That motherfucker's a degenerate. Like nobody, I don't think people are talking about this enough. He got into a fight at one of the players' party. They kicked him out, so obviously the team don't like his ass. Fucking drunk asshole. He's over here fighting people, and then he just ends up randomly on somebody's house, mumbling incoherently. Didn't he get hit with a vacuum or some shit? Like,
I know he got hit by an object. I don't know if it was a vacuum. If it was, that'd be hilarious.
I mean,
yeah, that just
suck. Get hit with a vacuum. That'd be terrible.
That just continues with just the cruel irony that is Chad Kelly. Because I mean, he in college, even his career was he was screwing up there. I mean, he had to go to EMCC. I don't know if you keep up with Last Chance U on Netflix, but that's like the school that show's based off of. They didn't have him in the show when at the school, but obviously he's one of their notable alumni.
Yeah. And
then he went to Ole Miss, and then became the guy that the guy, and then obviously then he got trolled for hitting up Mia Khalifa's DMs, and I mean his whole life, man, it just. His life is just something that's just mind-boggling, and maybe he should write a book. I would actually, if Chad Kelly were to ever write a book, I would actually read it, to be honest, because I want to know how this dude just kept screwing up and still found ways to make it. Oh man,
it's all about your belief. That's what happens with those guys who just who are just kind of aloof, who are just kind of out there. They keep believing that they're going to have the opportunity. They don't think it's slipped away, and so they keep getting those opportunities because somebody believes in them. They show that confidence level. I think it's when you finally believe, hey, it's all over for me. Then I think that's when you just lose. So if you believe, you can achieve. Now, how do you feel about the Dez to the Saints, and then the Saints play the Cowboys later this year in Dallas? That was a good one, Joshua.
Man, that was the funniest shit. I'm happy we don't have to play the Saints unless in some way we get into the Super Bowl. Yeah. He got into a good place. I mean, he's not necessarily going to have to do a lot of work. He'd probably be kind of similar to what Demaryius Thomas was brought to Houston for, just to be another person that can open up opportunities for Michael Thomas. Plus, he'll still get his looks, and you're going in with a Hall of Famer quarterback in Drew Brees. I mean, he waited, but he got in the right place. I mean, he's going to a contender, so you can't be mad at him for it, and it'll just be just sweet irony just seeing him go in and just demolish this terrible Dallas Cowboys team.
Man, I would love it. I will be tuning in. I normally don't
go
out of my way.
Is it in Dallas or is it in New Orleans?
I think they play in Dallas. Somebody said they play in Dallas, so I have to see. Double check.
I hope he spikes on that star.
Oh, that'll be yeah.
Apparently, the Cowboys players don't do shit. From what I saw, only one guy went up there to protect the star, which was Byron Jones, and I'm just like. I remember when Terrell Owens did that, and you just see the whole team running and chasing him, and then you had Emmitt Smith do his weird little knee. I don't even know why I'm talking shit about Emmitt Smith. I like Emmitt Smith, but you had I don't know. I remember that game, and I just remember he runs up to it, takes a knee on it, and then spikes the football on it. And I'm just like, isn't that the same thing he just did?
Yeah. Just says. They say we beat the rest of the teams we have in the schedule. We'll see. It'll be 13-3 at that point. It just depends on what you have guys like the Chiefs and the Pats do. So it's going to be interesting. I don't think you can it'll be hard to estimate that one yet. It's going to be, you're going to have to see what happens. And in this one here, we'll take one more, and then we're going to get ready to wrap it up. I'm going to catch a little bit of the Rockets game. And it says, will D. Foreman be that last piece on offense that will help us moving forward? Depends on when they bring him back. And I think, I think that it'll be interesting to see how he looks. If he can get into football shape, again, going into a situation where we're entering in the playoffs and you can come in, you can bring this guy in fresh while the rest of the league is banged up and dealing with injuries. And if he can look anything like he did, that game where he where he peaked and then injured his Achilles. So I don't want to say look anything like that. Look anything like the rest of the game except for the Achilles. That's a threat to have. That's a serious force to have, and I'm sure Deshaun Watson will be happy to have him. But the thing about that will be use.
I mean, he'll finally have a guy that can actually run it down the middle with.
Yeah. And that's the thing that you get with Foreman is that he has the big body, but he also has the speed and he has the elusiveness. So I mean, it's a very interesting situation. But again, coming off an Achilles injury, hadn't played football on that level in over a year. We saw it took a couple of weeks for veterans to get back into it. So you're talking about a rookie having to get reacclimated with the whole situation. I want to say he can be that piece, but I don't want to go out and bet all my chips on him. That's just kind of how I'm going to look at it. Like I'm hoping so. Like I have a lot of faith in him. Again, like I said, I'm hoping that he's the man, but I'm just not going to be all in on it, until I see what he looks like coming out of the.
I mean, that kind of just goes back to us just wanting them to take their time with Foreman. I mean, we all know that this guy is, the future as far as the running back group, but. I mean, once he is seen that you feel confident they could go out there and play. I think you have now once a three-headed tandem with Deshaun Watson, Alfred Blue, and Lamar Miller. I think you will see Alfred Blue kind of lose a little bit more touches at that point. So he'll probably be the lower man on the totem pole on that one. But just because you're talking about Deontay Foreman, but definitely would say that you just added just another piece to that running game, and I've been more about that run by committee instead of just like singling out a specific player. Even though I am high on Lamar Miller, I just think that the run by committee seems more of a realistic approach to looking at if you're going to be one of those people that are going to be looking at the stats, I would definitely say look at it as a run by committee, not as a single player.
Yeah, and I think you have to look at it as a whole because it's easy to get on the whole. Well, Lamar only had a couple of 100-yard rushing games and this, but you got to look at the stats overall because even when we started this season off, we were leading in a lot of the rushing categories, but it wasn't like one particular player was just demolishing everybody. It was kind of like you said, it was a committee situation. You saw Deshaun getting his a little bit, and. Like that. I'll take this last question, then we're going to wrap it up. So, do you feel the same about the offensive line now than you did week one? I feel much better about this offensive line. Honestly, if we were talking about before the first snap, week one, I was okay because I figured Henderson would be all right. I didn't think he was going to be a world beater, but I felt like he was going to be a capable guy. And then once he went down, then you're talking about having a different conversation. Then once you saw what they started throwing out there, good God, no. It was bad. It was bad. And but right now it looks like they found some cohesiveness. I'd rather see Greg Manx back in that starting lineup because to me
I was actually gonna say that.
Yeah.
I would prefer Greg Manx.
Mm-hmm.
I like Kelamani, but I mean it just seems like he gets hurt every game.
Yeah. And
so I mean
multiple times
out of the sake of his well-being, I think him coming in for rotational reasons would be better.
I'm going in, Coach. I'm coming out, Coach. I'm going back in.
I think I definitely would prefer that. Max has definitely proved to earn his spot in the starting lineup. I mean, we've all been pretty high on Greg Max. I mean, we thought that it was great that we were able to keep him for I think was it 2 more years? I think it is, including this year. I forgot what was the deal that they got him, but I know they got an extension with him.
Mm-hmm. I think he got 2 after this one. I might be wrong though.
But yeah, I mean, it just that just makes you feel comfortable, and you're definitely wanting to see that line, and hopefully one day we could see what it'll look like with Honcho Henderson. But unfortunately, the injuries happen, and I mean, luckily we haven't had as bad as injuries as we had from last year. But obviously we're without Chantrell and we're without Will Fuller, but they still find ways to win.
Okay. Now I had a good text that came in, and it was from Ricky D. But I'm gonna save it for tomorrow or so because I wanted to get more overall talk in. today, but it's some very valid points, and it's something that I may actually do a little individual video. I'll see how it goes, but I think some very good points. But again, we're gonna make it through this bye week. But I want to catch a little bit of this Rockets game and fuck OKC and all that good shit. Man, Hector, you got anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
Shout out to Texas Southern's basketball team, the men's basketball team. A few days ago, they went up against Baylor at Baylor University and got the upset 72-69. So that was pretty huge. I mean, everyone at TSU was really pumped about it. I know they're going up against Gonzaga tonight, I think, and well, that's just gonna be a blowout. But let's go back to reality. But yeah, it was huge for just the school because it was recognized on ESPN. Especially for the HBCU community. Anytime you see an HBCU get noticed on ESPN, so it's always as a community, not just by individual schools. It just shows good for the community.
Okay. So is there a particular player that we should be looking out for on the TSU basketball team?
Oh man, shoot. Not off the top of my head, but I mean a lot of these guys are great. I think this team is definitely special. I mean, they always make it to the NCAA tournament. Obviously, they get eliminated because they get stuck with a first seed. But they compete very well. And I mean, for them to go up against a Power 5 school, and even though Baylor is not the same basketball team from years before, it's still a Power 5 school. So I mean, as long as they can keep it competitive, not get blown out by these top teams, who knows? Maybe that 16 seed turns into a 15 seed. Yeah. So I mean, this is going to be a fun team to watch, especially, they're going without their coach from last year, Mike Davis, because obviously he's now with Detroit Mercy. But this new coach seems like he knows what he's doing, and he brought in a great staff, and hopefully these guys, apply themselves, because I think a lot of people don't talk about TSU's basketball team. I mean, this is definitely one of the better of the sports teams when it comes to TSU, but I would definitely love to see one day U of H go toe-to-toe with TSU. I think that would be a fun game to watch, but I don't think U of H wants to take on TSU.
No comment. I have no comment. But here's the deal, man. I want to say shout out to Hector, man. I appreciate you coming through and holding it down. I want to say shout out to Sauce Nation. I want to say shout out to everybody who texted in on the line. I know we didn't get the calls up today, but I still appreciate y'all being very participatory. There's no participation grade, though. Man, shout out to Days. I appreciate the love. And again, shout out to everybody, man. Like I said, I just thank y'all for supporting day in, day out. When I know, like I said, I haven't been these last couple of days. It's been some elements that I've been working on in the background to change some things up, and so it just throughout the days it ends up taking way more time than I planned. But trust me, I've been saying it's going to get much more consistent, and it definitely is. It's just I'm tweaking these last few things, and so I've been kind of out of pocket, and so I haven't been able to be on time the last couple of nights. But again, like I say, after this week, everything should be back in action. It should be good with the frequency increased. But again, so I appreciate each and every one of y'all. I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all follow Saw Sports HCX on Instagram and Twitter. And, just go to Saw Sports website. Sawsports.com is back up. I got to get back to writing. So I'm probably dated by a few days because, again, like I said, I've been busy. But we have some articles and everything going back up. Probably have something after this game, after the Rockets game and everything like that. And just make sure you just keep supporting. I appreciate each and every one of y'all, man. I thank y'all. And with that being said, for the wood tip shit, I got one right. I've been holding one right here, just holding that bitch.
Too much sauce.
I appreciate the love. Appreciate the love, Dave, for the wood tips, man. That's what's up. That's the real shit. But with that being said, man, hey, I appreciate y'all, man. Thank each and every one of y'all. With that being said, we out. Y'all be cool like y'all be cool. And adios. Y'all the freshest motherfucking ingredients in the world.